The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. What if I told you that the person who hurt you doesn't need confrontation, anger, or explanations to feel small? They only need to see what you become after the pain. What if the very thing you've been trying to do, prove your worth, demand closure, seek justice, is the one thing silently giving them power over you? You've been wronged, disrespected, maybe underestimated, and a part of you wants them to feel it, to realize what they lost, to regret how they treated you. That desire is human, but Stoic wisdom reveals something far more effective than revenge, far more devastating than words or reactions. It shows you how to reclaim your dignity without begging for validation, how to rise so calmly that their impact on you disappears. This video is not about hurting back. It's about mastering yourself so completely that the one who tried to break you becomes irrelevant in your presence. When you understand this, their memory loses its weight, and your silence becomes louder than any argument. Watch this video till the very end because each principle builds on the last. Miss one and you miss the transformation. Stay with me, and you'll walk away stronger, calmer, and untouchable. Number 1, withdraw emotional reactions completely. Withdrawing emotional reactions completely is not coldness. It's not suppression. It's not pretending you don't feel anything. It's clarity. It's deciding that your inner world is no longer available for someone else to disturb. Most people think power comes from making others feel your pain. Stoicism teaches something far more unsettling and far more effective. Real power comes from removing yourself as a source of emotional supply. Said it plainly, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. The moment you stop reacting emotionally, the balance shifts, quietly, permanently. When someone hurts you, they are often feeding on response. Not logic, not outcomes, response. Emotion is confirmation. Anger confirms relevance. Hurt confirms access. Explanation confirms influence. When you withdraw emotional reactions, you remove the reward system entirely. You're no longer participating in the exchange. This isn't revenge, it's independence. And independence is destabilizing to anyone who expected control over your inner state. This requires a shift in how you see emotion. Emotions are not orders, they are signals. Epictetus reminded us it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The Stoic move is not to deny the signal, but to refuse to obey it automatically. You feel the surge and you pause. You notice the tightening, the impulse to speak, to defend, to show pain. And then you choose stillness, not because you're weak, because you're disciplined. At first, this will feel unnatural. Your mind will argue that silence equals loss, that calm equals surrender. That's conditioning speaking. You've been trained to believe that expression equals strength. Stoicism rewires that belief. Strength is restraint. Strength is choosing not to give your energy away just because someone tried to provoke it. Seneca warned, "He who avenges himself by yielding to anger keeps his enemy alive." Emotional reactions keep the wound open. Withdrawal lets it close. This doesn't mean becoming numb. It means becoming selective. You stop narrating your inner state to the outside world. You stop explaining how you feel. You stop performing pain. Instead, you process internally, privately, deliberately. You don't rush to resolution. You don't rush to closure. You let time and silence do the work. And that alone makes the other person feel small, not because you attacked them, but because you no longer orbit them. To train this, you need practice that starts before the trigger. Begin with emotional labeling. When a feeling rises, name it silently, not dramatically, just accurately. Anger, disappointment, resentment. Then add one sentence in your mind, "This is a feeling, not a command." That single line creates space. In that space, you breathe slower, your face relaxes, your body settles. You are no longer leaking emotion outward. This is Stoic control in real time. Another exercise is response delay. Commit to never reacting immediately when emotionally charged. Not minutes, not hours, just a pause long enough to regain authorship. Advise, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Immediate reactions are mimicry. Delayed responses are authorship. Often, after the pause, you'll realize no response is needed at all. Silence becomes your statement. You'll notice something else as you withdraw emotionally. Your thoughts become cleaner. Without the urge to react, your mind sharpens. You see patterns more clearly. You stop personalizing behavior that was never about you. This is Stoic detachment, not indifference but perspective. Epictetus urged, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Emotional withdrawal is embodiment. You don't announce it, you live it. There will be moments when the urge to re-engage returns. That's normal. The habit of reaction doesn't die quietly. When it happens, redirect your energy inward. Physical stillness helps. Relax your jaw, drop your shoulders, slow your breath. These are not tricks. They're signals to your nervous system that you're safe without reacting. Over time, your body learns that calm is an option, then a default. Another discipline is journaling without narrative. Write only sensations and thoughts, not stories. No blame, no justification, just observation. This trains your mind to process emotion without dramatizing it. You're teaching yourself that feelings don't need an audience to dissolve. Seneca believed daily reflection was essential, writing, "Each day I sit in judgment on myself." This is that judgment, not harsh but honest. What makes this approach so effective is that it's invisible. There's no confrontation to push against, no emotion to mirror, no drama to escalate. You become unreadable, and unreadability unsettles those who expected access. You're no longer explaining yourself. You're no longer trying to be understood. You understand yourself. That's enough. This is where many people misunderstand Stoicism. They think it's about appearing unaffected. It's not. It's about being unaffected by things that don't deserve control over you. You still care. You still feel. But you choose where your energy goes. You don't pour it into places that proved unworthy. That choice is dignity. Adopt this as a daily vow. I do not react for entertainment, validation, or relief. Relief gained through reaction is temporary. Relief gained through restraint is lasting. Each time you withdraw emotionally, you reinforce your self-respect. And self-respect is felt by others even when nothing is said. The final exercise is commitment to inner authority. When hurt arises, ask yourself one question: who decides how I feel right now? If the answer isn't me, pause until it is. This question recenters you instantly. It restores control. Wrote, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. Change the estimate. Withdraw the reaction. Keep the power. This is how you make the one who hurt you feel small, not through cruelty, but through absence. Not through punishment, but through peace. You don't need to prove strength. You practice it. You don't seek closure. You become closed to intrusion. Start today. React less. Observe more. Guard your inner world like it matters, because it does. Number 2. Refuse to seek closure or explanations. Refusing to seek closure or explanations feels counterintuitive at first, because your mind has been trained to believe that understanding is what heals you. You think if you just hear the right words, if you finally get the truth, if they explain themselves clearly enough, something inside you will settle. But Stoicism cuts through that illusion with ruthless calm. Wrote, choose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed and you haven't been. Closure is often just another form of dependence. It keeps your peace tied to someone else's willingness to speak, clarify, or care. When you refuse to chase it, you quietly take your power back. You don't need their version of events to move forward. You don't need their apology to regain your dignity. And you definitely don't need their explanation to validate what you already felt. Seeking closure places them above you, as if they are the final authority on your emotional state. Stoicism teaches the opposite. Epictetus was blunt about this. If you want to be invincible, make sure that no one can hurt you by what they say or do. The moment you stop asking, why, you begin building that invincibility. You stop handing them the pen to write the ending of your story. There's something deeply unsettling to the person who hurt you when you no longer ask questions. Not because you're trying to punish them, but because you've removed yourself from the emotional transaction altogether. Silence replaces interrogation, detachment replaces pleading, and this isn't coldness, it's clarity. You are saying without words, I don't need you to understand me for me to understand myself. That shift alone changes everything. Your energy turns inward, your focus sharpens. You stop replaying conversations that never happened and start reclaiming the time they occupied rent-free in your mind. Your mind will resist this at first. It will demand answers. It will manufacture scenarios and imaginary dialogues. Let that happen without indulging it. Stoicism doesn't ask you to suppress thoughts, it asks you to see them clearly. Seneca warned, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Closure-seeking is imagination disguised as healing. It's the hope that one more exchange will erase the discomfort. Instead, choose discipline. When the urge to reach out appears, pause, breathe. Remind yourself that peace delayed by dependence is not peace at all. A powerful practice here is mental refusal. Each time your mind says, I need to know why, you calmly answer, I don't. Not aggressively, not emotionally, just firmly. This is training. You are rewiring your relationship with uncertainty. Another exercise is writing questions down and deliberately not answering them. Let them exist without resolution. This strengthens your tolerance for ambiguity, which is a core Stoic skill. Life rarely provides clean endings. The Stoic doesn't wait for them. When you stop seeking closure, something unexpected happens. You stop shrinking yourself. You no longer frame your healing around their behavior. You're not waiting for them to say the right thing so you can finally exhale. You exhale now, on your terms. Reminded himself daily, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Closure is an outside event. Strength comes from refusing to hinge your well-being on it. This doesn't mean pretending you weren't hurt. It means you stop outsourcing your recovery. You acknowledge what happened without dissecting it endlessly. You feel the emotion without dramatizing it. You move forward without dragging the past behind you like proof. Refusing explanations is an act of self-respect. It tells your nervous system that you are safe even without answers, that you trust yourself enough to walk on without permission. Another daily habit to build is response restraint. When the impulse to ask, explain, or clarify arises, do nothing for 24 hours. Let the feeling pass through you. Most urges dissolve when not fed. Epictetus said, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. You don't announce your detachment, you live it. Over time, the silence you maintain becomes louder than any explanation ever could. What makes the one who hurt you feel small is not revenge, confrontation, or emotional display. It's your refusal to orbit them. When you stop seeking closure, you remove the spotlight. You are no longer a question mark waiting for their answer. You become a period, complete, unavailable. That quiet finality unsettles people far more than anger ever will because it signals independence. And independence is the one thing they cannot control. Train yourself to end inner conversations abruptly. When you catch yourself rehearsing what you'd say if you had the chance, stop mid-sentence. Return to your body, feel your breath, ground yourself in the present. This is Stoic attention training. You're choosing reality over rumination. You're choosing growth over rehearsal. Refusing closure is not avoidance. It's acceptance without attachment. It's understanding that not everything needs to make sense to be released. Seneca wrote, "He who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary." Stop suffering in advance of explanations that may never come. Let go without answers. Heal without permission. Move forward without applause. This is how you reclaim your scale. You don't chase. You don't ask. You don't wait. You stand intact, self-governed, and calm. And in doing so, you don't just feel stronger, you become untouchable. Number 3, master silence instead of defending yourself. When someone hurts you, the first instinct is to explain yourself, to correct the record, to make sure they understand your side. That impulse feels noble, even necessary. But Stoicism cuts against that reflex with unsettling clarity. Wrote, choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. The moment you rush to defend yourself, you silently accept the accusation as something that needs an answer. Silence, on the other hand, refuses that premise. It says, without drama, that your worth is not on trial, and that quiet refusal is what shrinks the other person's power. Mastering silence doesn't mean swallowing emotion or pretending you're unaffected. It means you stop leaking your energy into a space that doesn't deserve it. When you defend yourself, you give the other person control over the frame. You react. You chase. You try to be understood. Silence reverses that direction. You remain still. You let the moment sit. You stay rooted in yourself. Epictetus was blunt about this. If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you, but answer, he was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone. That's not sarcasm. That's inner freedom. You don't owe explanations to people who chose to misunderstand you. Defending yourself often comes from a hidden hope that if you say the right words, the pain will dissolve. Stoicism teaches you to give that hope up, not in a bitter way, but in a grounded one. You stop trying to control how you are perceived. Seneca warned, he who explains himself accuses himself. When you internalize that, silence stops feeling like weakness and starts feeling like self-respect. This kind of silence is active, not passive. You are not shrinking. You are holding your ground. You are choosing not to engage in emotional bargaining. The person who hurt you expects a reaction, anger, justification, pleading, defense. Silence denies them that reward. It doesn't humiliate them outwardly. It does something quieter and far more unsettling. It forces them to sit alone with their own actions, without you propping the moment up with your energy. To build this habit, you need to train yourself before the moment arrives. Start by noticing how often you narrate yourself internally. The mind rehearses defenses constantly. Catch that. When you feel the urge to explain, pause and ask yourself one simple question. What would change if I said nothing? Most of the time, the honest answer is nothing that matters. This pause is where mastery begins. You're not suppressing speech. You're choosing restraint. Practice deliberate non-response in low emotional moments. Let messages go unanswered for a few minutes longer than feels comfortable. Let silence exist without rushing to fix it. Sit with the sensation. You'll notice a kind of pressure, like an itch. That's the ego wanting relief. Don't scratch it. Breathe. Feel your body. You are learning to stay sovereign under tension. Reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Silence is how that power shows up in real time. There's another layer to this. Defending yourself often keeps you psychologically tied to the person who hurt you. Your thoughts orbit them. Silence loosens that grip. It redirects your attention inward. You stop negotiating your identity with someone who has already proven unreliable. This is not avoidance. It's detachment with dignity. Stoicism never asks you to pretend pain doesn't exist. It asks you not to let pain dictate your behavior. A practical exercise: commit to a 24-hour rule. When you feel attacked or misrepresented, do nothing for a full day. No clarifying statements. No inner monologues rehearsing speeches. Just observe. Journal if you need to, but don't send anything outward. At the end of those 24 hours, ask yourself whether silence weakened you or steadied you. You'll likely find that your emotions have cooled and your perspective has widened. Often, the urge to defend simply dissolves. Another practice is mental reframing. When you're criticized, repeat this line from Epictetus: "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." The hurt comes not from the words, but from the meaning you assign to them. Silence creates space to question that meaning. You stop treating every judgment as a verdict. You remember that opinions are cheap and abundant. Your character is not. Over time, mastering silence changes how you carry yourself. You become less reactive, more deliberate. You stop chasing closure from people who lack the capacity to give it. And paradoxically, this calm restraint often has the effect you never get from arguing. It unsettles. Not because you're trying to make anyone feel small, but because you no longer make yourself small by pleading to be understood. Seneca put it cleanly: "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." Silence is delay refined into a discipline. This doesn't mean you never speak. It means you speak from choice, not compulsion. When you do respond, if you ever do, your words are sparse and grounded. They come from clarity, not wounded pride. But even if no words ever come, you are intact. You've kept your center. Make this a daily practice. Notice your impulses. Slow them down. Let silence be your default instead of defense. You are not obligated to perform emotional labor for those who hurt you. Your calm is not indifference, it's self-command. And as advised, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Sometimes being one means saying nothing at all. Number 4, improve quietly without announcing it. Improving quietly is one of the most underestimated forms of strength you can cultivate. When you've been hurt, every instinct inside you wants to prove something. You want recognition. You want validation. You want the other person to see what they did wrong and what you've become despite it. Stoicism asks you to go in the opposite direction. Wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Quiet improvement is exactly that. No speeches. No announcements. No dramatic transformation arc performed for an audience. Just steady, private progress that compounds while no one is watching. Here's the truth you're rarely told. Announcing your growth dilutes it. The moment you talk about what you're becoming, you start feeding your ego instead of your character. You trade momentum for applause. Stoicism teaches you to starve that impulse. Not because recognition is evil, but because dependence on it makes you weak. When you improve quietly, your power stays intact. You don't leak energy into explanations. You don't seek permission. You move forward while others are still stuck replaying the past. Seneca warned, associate with people who are likely to improve you. Quiet improvement starts with choosing yourself as that person. You stop rehearsing conversations in your head. You stop fantasizing about reactions. You redirect that mental energy into discipline. This is where real leverage is built, not in being seen, but in becoming undeniable. When progress happens in silence, it's rooted deeper. It's not performative, it's integrated. You don't improve quietly to make someone feel small directly. That's not the point. You do it because detachment is the ultimate response to disrespect. When you no longer need acknowledgement, you reclaim control. Epictetus said, "If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you, but answer, 'He was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone.'" That mindset requires inner strength. Quiet improvement builds that strength daily. The discipline here is restraint. Restraint from posting, explaining, hinting, or signaling. You let results mature in the dark. This is uncomfortable at first. Silence can feel like invisibility, but invisibility is where focus thrives. You're no longer splitting attention between growth and performance. You're fully invested, and that investment shows up in your posture, your tone, your decisions, without you saying a word. Start by creating a private standard. Write down what better means to you, but keep it hidden. Not because it's shameful, but because it's sacred. Kept his meditations private, never intending them for publication. That alone should teach you something. Improvement doesn't need witnesses to be real. Each day, ask yourself one simple question. Did I act in alignment with my standard today? That's it. No comparison, no scoreboard. Another practice is deliberate silence about your efforts. When you feel the urge to share progress, pause, sit with the urge. Notice how quickly the mind seeks external confirmation, then redirect. Use that moment to refine your habit instead. One extra repetition, one more page, one more breath of patience. This is how you train emotional independence. You're teaching yourself that progress is its own reward. Quiet improvement also sharpens your composure. When you're no longer trying to prove anything, your reactions slow down. You become less reactive, less defensive. Seneca wrote, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." Quiet growth is delayed gratification in its form. You're willing to let time reveal who you've become instead of forcing a reveal yourself. You'll notice something subtle as you continue. The memory of being hurt loses its grip, not because you suppressed it, but because you outgrew it. Pain thrives on attention. When your focus shifts to refinement, pain has less oxygen. You're not healing through distraction. You're healing through elevation. You become too engaged in becoming better to stay emotionally entangled with the past. A powerful exercise here is the end-of-day review. Before sleep, replay the day not to judge but to observe. Where did you act with discipline? Where did you slip into ego? Where did silence serve you? This mirrors a practice recommended by both Seneca and Epictetus. It keeps you accountable to yourself, not to anyone else's expectations. Another exercise is intentional anonymity. Do good work that no one can trace back to you, not for moral superiority but to strengthen your internal compass. When you remove the possibility of praise, you find out whether your actions are truly yours. This builds integrity, and integrity radiates quietly. Improving without announcing it changes how you carry yourself. You speak with less urgency. You explain less. You move with certainty that doesn't need reinforcement. This is what makes the one who hurt you feel small, not humiliation, not revenge, but irrelevance. Your life no longer orbits around the injury. You've shifted the center back to yourself. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Notice the order. No declaration to the world, just a private decision followed by consistent action. That's Stoic power. That's quiet dominance. So start now. Pick one area of your life and commit to improving it in silence. No updates, no hints, no seeking reassurance. Let time do the revealing. Let your calm replace your resentment. Let your discipline replace your anger. And when results finally show, they won't need explanation. They'll speak on your behalf, softly, firmly, and without asking permission. Number 5, deny them access to your inner world. Denying someone access to your inner world is not cruelty, it is clarity. When someone has hurt you, the instinct is to either explain yourself endlessly or to shut down in bitterness. Stoicism offers a quieter, sharper path. Wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Your inner world is that power. Your thoughts, values, emotions, and meaning-making process are not public property. The moment you stop handing them out to those who mishandled them, something inside you straightens. You're no longer reacting, you're choosing. Most people reveal too much too quickly to the wrong audience. They narrate their wounds, expose their doubts, and then wonder why they feel drained afterward. You don't need to do that anymore. Denying access doesn't mean becoming cold or withdrawn. It means becoming selective. You stop offering explanations to people who are not aligned with your values. You stop leaking emotional data to those who use it carelessly. Epictetus warned, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Silence, restraint, and composure speak far louder than emotional disclosure ever could. When someone can no longer read you, predict you or press emotional buttons, their influence shrinks. Not because you're trying to make them feel small, but because you've reclaimed your center. Stoicism is not about revenge. It's about independence. Seneca said, "He is most powerful who has power over himself." Denying access to your inner world is self-rule in action. You are no longer inviting others to sit in the control room of your mind. This requires discipline. Your mind will want to revisit the hurt, rehearse arguments, and seek validation. Catch that impulse gently. Ask yourself whether sharing this thought strengthens you or weakens you. If it weakens you, keep it private. This is not suppression, it's containment. You're choosing when and where your inner life is expressed. That choice builds dignity. Practice pausing before you reveal how you feel. Take a breath. Feel the urge pass. You're training yourself to respond, not spill. A powerful exercise is mental boundary setting. Each morning, remind yourself, not everyone deserves access to my thoughts, my emotions, or my plans. Write it down if you need to. Another practice is emotional minimalism. When you speak, say only what is necessary. No extra justification. No over-explaining. This doesn't make you distant. It makes you grounded. People sense when you are no longer emotionally available for manipulation. Advised, be reserved and never overfamiliar. This is not about isolation, it's about proportion. Your inner world is sacred space. When you protect it, you move differently. You stop seeking reactions. You stop craving acknowledgement. You stop trying to be understood by those who have already shown they don't understand you. That's freedom. There's a subtle confidence that comes from emotional privacy. You become harder to shake because your worth is no longer negotiated externally. When someone realizes they can't get inside your head, can't provoke a reaction, can't extract emotional fuel, their presence loses weight. You don't need to announce boundaries. Your composure enforces them. To strengthen this habit, practice journaling instead of verbal processing. Let your thoughts exist on paper rather than in the hands of others. Another exercise is the delayed response. When you feel the urge to explain yourself, wait 24 hours before saying anything. Often, the need dissolves. What remains is clarity. Epictetus reminded us, if anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you, but answer, "He was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone." This mindset comes from an inner world that is fortified, not exposed. You are no longer porous. You are self-contained. Denying access is not punishment, it's alignment. You're choosing peace over performance, self-respect over emotional exposure. And in that choice, something powerful happens. You stop shrinking to be understood. You expand by standing still. Start today. Guard your inner world, speak less. Reveal slowly. Let your strength become quiet and watch how unimportant the hurt becomes when it no longer has a doorway into you. Number 6, respond with calm indifference, not hostility. Responding with calm indifference rather than hostility is one of the most difficult shifts you'll ever make and one of the most powerful. Your instinct wants to flare up. It wants to correct, confront, punish, or prove. That impulse feels justified. It feels human. But Stoicism invites you to step back and ask a harder question. Who controls you in that moment? Wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Calm indifference is what that strength looks like in motion. It's not coldness, it's sovereignty. Hostility keeps you tethered to the one who hurt you. Every sharp thought, every imagined reply, every emotional surge keeps them central in your inner world. Indifference quietly removes them from the throne. When you respond without heat, without edge, without urgency, something shifts. Not outwardly at first, but internally. You stop feeding the wound. You stop rehearsing pain. You stop giving your nervous system the message that you're under threat. This is not weakness. This is containment. And containment is power. Stoicism never asked you to suppress emotion. It asked you to discipline it. Epictetus was clear. It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. Calm indifference is the refusal to accept the story your emotions are trying to sell you, the story that says you must react. You don't. You choose otherwise. You let the feeling pass through without giving it a megaphone. That choice, repeated, rewires you. When you respond with hostility, you escalate. When you respond with indifference, you de-escalate without retreating. You don't explain yourself. You don't justify your stance. You don't seek understanding or validation. You simply remain unmoved. That stillness communicates something words never could. I am not governed by this. Seneca said, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." Indifference is not delay forever. It's delay long enough for clarity to arrive. You need to train this, not theoretically, practically. Start by practicing internal indifference before external indifference. When a surge of anger rises, don't label it as bad. Label it as temporary. Say to yourself, this is a sensation, not a command. Breathe slowly. Drop your shoulders. Unclench your jaw. Let your body learn that it is safe even when disrespected. This is a radical act. Most people never do it. That's why most people stay reactive. Calm indifference also starves the ego of drama. Hostility feels satisfying because it gives the ego a stage. Indifference removes the audience. And without an audience, ego loses interest. Warned, how much time he gains who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does or thinks. Indifference is time reclaimed, energy reclaimed, focus reclaimed. To make this a habit, rehearse stillness. Sit quietly each day and imagine emotional pressure without adding narrative. Don't visualize scenes or people, just feel resistance and practice staying relaxed. This builds emotional endurance. Another exercise is deliberate understatement. When you speak, use fewer words than necessary, not curt, just precise. This trains your mind to stop overinvesting. Silence becomes a tool, not a defense. What makes indifference so disarming is that it denies emotional leverage. Hostility invites counter-hostility. Indifference offers nothing to grab onto. It creates asymmetry. You're no longer playing the same game, and people feel that. You're not trying to look strong. You are strong because your inner state isn't up for negotiation. There will be moments when this feels unnatural. Good. Growth always does. Stoicism is not about comfort, it's about alignment. Seneca wrote, "A man who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary." Hostility is pre-suffering. Indifference waits for reality to prove that suffering is even required. Most of the time, it is. You are not here to teach lessons. You are here to preserve your equilibrium. When you stop trying to make others feel something and focus on maintaining your own steadiness, you win quietly. Indifference isn't apathy, it's selectivity. You choose where your emotional currency goes, and you stop spending it on those who can't return value. Adopt this as a daily discipline. When provoked, pause, breathe, respond minimally or not at all. Let your tone remain even. Let your posture remain relaxed. Let your eyes stay calm. This is Stoic composure made visible. Over time, your nervous system learns that it doesn't need to defend your worth. You already know it. In the end, calm indifference doesn't make others small by force. It makes them irrelevant by choice. And nothing unsettles the ego more than being significant. You don't need revenge. You need mastery. Start practicing today. Withdraw your emotional investment. Guard your inner state. And let your calm do what anger never could. Number 7, let time expose character, yours and theirs. Let time expose character, yours and theirs. This is one of the hardest Stoic disciplines because it demands restraint when every instinct in you wants release. When someone hurts you, the urge to react feels righteous. You want to correct the record, reclaim dignity, restore balance immediately. But Stoicism asks you to step back and trust something far more powerful than retaliation, time paired with self-command. wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." That line isn't poetic comfort, it's instruction. It tells you that your transformation, not your response, is where the real shift happens. Time is uncomfortable because it refuses to hurry for your emotions. It stretches moments out and forces you to sit with what you feel. But that waiting is not passive, it's active restraint. When you choose not to react, not to explain, not to chase closure, you're allowing patterns to surface naturally. Character cannot hide forever, neither theirs nor yours. You don't need to expose anyone. Behavior does that on its own. Epictetus warned, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. Waiting breaks that complicity. You reclaim authorship over your inner world. Here's the quiet truth most people miss. Reacting quickly often shrinks you more than the original wound ever could. It ties your sense of worth to someone else's actions. Time, on the other hand, loosens that grip. It gives you distance, and distance gives you clarity. You begin to see what was said, what was done, and more importantly, what it had to do with you. Usually far less than you thought. Seneca observed, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Time dissolves exaggeration. It leaves only what's real. As days pass, something subtle happens inside you if you let it. The emotional charge fades, the urgency quiets, and in that calmer space, your character has room to emerge. Are you disciplined? Are you consistent? Are you grounded in your values even when no one is watching? This is where the real work is. You stop measuring progress by how they feel and start measuring it by how you behave. That shift alone changes everything. You're no longer performing strength, you're practicing it. Letting time pass also removes the need to convince anyone of your side. Stoicism never asks you to prove yourself. It asks you to be aligned. Reminded himself, I do what is mine to do, the rest does not disturb me. When you live that way, you stop narrating your pain. You stop replaying scenes in your head. You redirect that energy into refinement. Time becomes an ally because you're using it to build, not brood. To adopt this habit, start with a simple rule: no emotional decisions. When you feel the pull to act, delay. Not indefinitely, intentionally. Tell yourself you'll revisit the thought tomorrow, then again in a week. Watch how its intensity changes. Most impulses don't survive time. This is a practical exercise in Stoic patience. Another practice is journaling without judgment. Write what you feel, then write what you choose to do instead. You're training separation between emotion and action. Time also exposes consistency. Anyone can appear convincing in a moment. Over time, masks slip. You don't need to watch closely or wait eagerly. Live fully in your own lane. As Seneca said, time discovers truth. That discovery happens whether you're present for it or not. The more you detach from the outcome, the more clearly you see it when it arrives. And when it does, it often arrives quietly. There's also a deeper layer here. Letting time expose character isn't about making someone else feel small through comparison. It's about standing so firmly in your values that contrast becomes inevitable. You don't diminish anyone, you elevate yourself. That elevation can feel unsettling to others, but that's not your concern. Your concern is integrity. Epictetus taught, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Time gives you the space to live that out. Practice intentional silence during emotional waves, not suppression, containment. Breathe, observe, let thoughts pass without attaching to them. This trains emotional endurance. Another exercise is daily reflection. Ask yourself one question each night. Did my actions today reflect who I want to be, regardless of how others behaved? That question keeps you honest. It keeps the focus where it belongs. Over time, you'll notice something empowering. The wound loses its authority. It no longer dictates your mood or your direction. You've it. And in that growth, you don't need acknowledgement. You don't need apology. You don't even need understanding. Wrote, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Time lets you choose the color deliberately. This is Stoic strength, quiet, unrushed, unprovoked. You let time do the revealing while you do the refining, and in that process, without confrontation or display, you become unshakable. That is how you reclaim power, not by forcing outcomes, but by trusting duration. Start now, pause longer, act slower, build deeper. Let time speak. Number 8, replace resentment with disciplined self-control. Resentment feels powerful at first. It gives you the illusion of strength, the sense that you're holding someone accountable in your mind. But look closer and you'll see the truth the Stoics understood centuries ago. Resentment doesn't punish the person who hurt you, it chains you to them. Put it plainly, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. That line isn't poetic comfort, it's a command. If you continue to replay the wound, rehearse the injustice, and feed the anger, you remain under their influence. Disciplined self-control is how you cut the cord, not by suppressing emotion, but by governing it. You don't replace resentment by pretending it doesn't exist. You replace it by refusing to let it steer you. Resentment is reactive. Self-control is deliberate. One keeps you stuck in the past, the other pulls you into authorship of your present. Epictetus reminded us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. That's not motivational fluff. That's operational guidance. Every time resentment flares, you're being invited to either relapse into reaction or practice command. And command is learned through repetition, not insight. Here, where the shift begins. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" you train yourself to ask, "What is within my control right now?" That single question dissolves resentment's grip because resentment thrives on helplessness. The Stoic mind doesn't negotiate with helplessness. It redirects energy. You don't need closure, you need containment. The moment you choose restraint over retaliation, internally or externally, you begin shrinking the psychological space the other person occupies in your mind. That's how they start to feel small, without you lifting a finger. Self-control is not passive. It's an active refusal to be dragged into emotional excess. Seneca warned, anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it. Notice the word restrained, not erased, not restrained. You allow the emotion to rise, then you deny it the wheel. This takes practice, and the practice itself is what rebuilds your sense of power. Start with awareness drills. When resentment appears, don't narrate it, don't justify it, label it. Silently say, "This is resentment." That creates distance. Distance creates choice. Then slow your breath deliberately. Long inhale, longer exhale. You are teaching your nervous system that you are not under threat. This matters because resentment is often stored tension masquerading as moral outrage. Release the tension and the story loses fuel. Next, impose a rule on yourself. No internal monologues about the person who hurt you unless they directly serve your growth. This is discipline. Wrote his meditations not for publication, but as a form of mental hygiene. You need the same. When your mind drifts toward replay, redirect it toward refinement. Ask, what virtue is this moment training in me? Patience, endurance, detachment. This reframing doesn't excuse harm, it neutralizes obsession. There's a deeper layer here most people miss. Resentment keeps you emotionally invested in someone who no longer deserves access. Self-control is how you revoke that access, not dramatically, quietly. You stop giving them free rent in your thoughts. Epictetus advised, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. What's in your power is your conduct, your habits, your standards. What's not is their behavior. Once you internalize this distinction, resentment starts to feel unnecessary, even embarrassing. Train self-control through voluntary discomfort. This is classic Stoic conditioning. Choose small acts of restraint daily, delay gratification, sit with silence, hold back unnecessary speech. These are not punishments, They are strength drills. Each time you practice restraint in neutral situations, you build capacity for emotional restraint when it counts. The mind doesn't rise to the occasion, it falls to the level of its training. You'll notice something subtle as you persist. The memory of the hurt loses emotional charge, not because you forgave in some performative way, but because you outgrew the need to react. Seneca said, "He suffers more than necessary who suffers before it is necessary." Resentment is premature suffering. Self-control is delayed judgment. And delayed judgment often reveals that the wound had less power than you assumed. Another exercise: write down what resentment urges you to do, then write the opposite action that aligns with self-mastery. Not kindness, not reconciliation, mastery. The goal is not to be morally impressive. The goal is to be unshakable. When you consistently choose the disciplined response, you reinforce an identity, someone who governs himself. And people who govern themselves are never small. The final shift is internal posture. Stop seeking emotional vindication. You don't need them to feel guilty. You don't need acknowledgement. Wanting those things keeps you dependent. Reminded himself, "I have often wondered how it is that every man loves himself more than all the rest of men, but yet sets less value on his own opinion of himself than on the opinion of others." Self-control reclaims your opinion as the authority. When you replace resentment with disciplined self-control, something paradoxical happens. You don't feel triumphant. You feel calm, grounded, clean. And that calm is what makes the other person irrelevant. Not defeated, irrelevant. That is the quiet outcome Stoicism aims for. Not revenge, freedom. So start now. Catch the resentment, name it, restrain it. Redirect your energy into habits that sharpen you. You don't win by making noise. You win by becoming unreachable. Number 9. Stop replaying the offense in your mind. The moment someone hurts you, your mind wants to keep the wound open. It replays the words, the tone, the timing, over and over, as if repetition will somehow fix what already happened. But warned you about this trap long ago when he wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Every time you replay the offense, you let the other person stay in control, not in the world, but in you. And that is the real loss. You think replaying gives you leverage. It doesn't. It drains you. The mind convinces itself that revisiting the moment is preparation, that you're staying alert, that you're protecting yourself. In truth, you're handing over your energy again and again. Epictetus was blunt about this. It is not events that disturb us, but our judgments about them. The event is finished, completely done. What keeps hurting you is the story you keep pressing play on. And the person who hurt you grows larger in your mind while you shrink. Here's the shift you need to make, and it's uncomfortable at first. You stop entertaining the replay, not by force, not by pretending it didn't matter, but by refusing to give it free rent in your head. You don't argue with the memory. You don't analyze it. You don't polish it. You notice it and you cut the loop. Calmly, repeatedly, every time. This is Stoic discipline in real time. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Read that again, slowly. Most of the pain you feel now is not coming from what happened, but from what you keep doing with it. Each replay sharpens the edge. Each replay rehearses powerlessness. If you want the one who hurt you to feel small, not outwardly, but in the only way that matters, you make them irrelevant to your inner life. This requires a new habit. When the replay starts, you interrupt it with intention. You don't wait for it to finish. You don't let it build momentum. You step in early. You say internally and firmly, "This thought no longer serves me." Not angrily, not dramatically, just decisively. Then you redirect your attention to something physical and immediate. Your breath, your posture, the sensation of your feet on the ground. This anchors you back into the present where the offense has no power. You'll notice resistance. Your mind will say, "But it matters." Yes, it mattered, past tense. Stoicism never asks you to deny reality, it asks you to stop bleeding from it. Reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. The replay is an outside event pretending to be a current one. You don't have to obey it. Another exercise that works quietly but powerfully is this. Set a mental boundary. Decide that you will not replay the offense outside of a specific limited window, 5 minutes a day maximum. When the thought appears at other times, you postpone it. You say, not now. Most days, when that window arrives, you won't even want to use it. The mind loses interest when obsession is no longer allowed to roam freely. Control weakens fixation. Understand this clearly. Replaying the offense keeps you emotionally tied to the person who hurt you. Detachment is not coldness, it is freedom. Epictetus said, if you want to be invincible, make no treaty with anything that is not in your control. Their behavior is not in your control. Your attention is. Every time you withdraw it from the replay, you reclaim a piece of yourself. You may fear that letting go means they get away with it. That's the ego talking. Stoicism is not about revenge. It's about superiority of character. The greatest consequence you can impose is indifference. When someone no longer occupies your inner space, they are diminished. Not by force, by absence. Practice mental labeling. When the replay begins, label it plainly. Memory, not truth, not danger, just memory. This creates distance. You stop merging with the thought. You observe it like a cloud passing. Seneca advised, a man who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary. Don't suffer twice, once in reality and endlessly in recollection. There will be moments when the mind tries to seduce you back into the loop. It will replay different angles, different endings, imagined responses. Don't follow. Each time you refuse, you strengthen self-command. This is training. Quiet, repetitive, effective. You are teaching your mind who leads. Replace the replay with construction, not distraction, construction. Use the freed mental space to build something internal, stronger standards, sharper discipline, deeper calm. Ask yourself one question when the thought arises. What would a composed version of me focus on right now? Then act accordingly. Action grounds you. Rumination dissolves. Often reminded himself of the brevity of life. Soon you will have forgotten everything. Soon everyone will have forgotten you. This isn't nihilism, it's perspective. The offense feels enormous now because you're standing too close to it. Step back. Time shrinks everything. You don't need to carry this forward. Make a commitment today. Not to forget, but to stop feeding. Every replay is a choice, even if it doesn't feel like one yet. Train yourself until it does. The moment you stop replaying the offense, something subtle but profound happens. You grow quieter, clearer, harder to disturb. And the one who hurt you, they fade, not because they changed, but because you did. That is Stoic victory. Number 10, live so well that their absence becomes irrelevant. Living so well that their absence becomes irrelevant is not revenge, it's release. It's the quiet decision to stop orbiting around a wound and start building gravity of your own. Right now, part of your energy may still be tied to what happened, to what was said or not said, to what you wish they understood. Stoicism asks you to cut that cord, not with anger but with elevation. Wrote, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Notice how he didn't say the loudest revenge or the most visible one. He said the best, and the best is internal. It's you refusing to let someone else rent space in your mind without paying. You don't heal by waiting for closure. You heal by making their relevance expire. That happens when your days become full, intentional, and directed by your values instead of your resentment. The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus warned, if anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you, but answer, he was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone. There's humor in that, but also power. You stop shrinking yourself to be understood. You grow beyond the need to be explained. Living well starts with reclaiming your mornings. How you begin the day sets the tone for how much control you hand over. Before you reach for distractions, take 5 minutes of stillness. Ask yourself one simple question: what would a disciplined, self-respecting version of me do today? Write the answer down, not 10 things. 1. Then do it without negotiation. This is how you rebuild trust with yourself. And when you trust yourself, the opinions of those who hurt you start to fade. There's a temptation to improve yourself at someone as if your growth is a performance meant to be noticed. Drop that impulse. Seneca said, "He who does not know what the world is does not know where he is, and he who does not know for what purpose he is in the world does not know who he is." Your purpose is not to prove a point, it's to live in alignment. When your actions line up with your values consistently, your life becomes quieter, stronger, less reactive. Their absence stops feeling like a loss and starts feeling like space. You also need to starve the habit of mental replay. The mind loves to revisit old scenes, hopping to rewrite them. Catch yourself when this happens, not with frustration, with firmness. Say internally, "This thought is unproductive." Then redirect your attention to something physical: your breath, your posture, the task in front of you. This is a Stoic exercise in attention control. Reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Each time you interrupt rumination, you reclaim power. Another habit to build is voluntary discomfort. Comfort keeps old attachments alive. Discomfort breaks them. Choose small acts of discipline daily. Cold water, silence, focused work without escape. These are not punishments. They are reminders that you are capable of choosing difficulty now to avoid suffering later. When you grow comfortable with effort, you stop craving validation. And when validation loses its pull, the people who once hurt you lose their leverage. Living well also means refining your standards, not for others, for yourself. What behavior will you no longer tolerate from your own mind? Self-pity, fantasizing about being understood, waiting to feel motivated. Cut those off gently but decisively. Epictetus was blunt. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. You don't wait to feel ready. You act your way into clarity. There will be moments when you feel the urge to check if they noticed your progress. That's normal. Don't judge it, just don't obey it. Each time you resist, you strengthen independence. Your life is not a message, it's a practice. The goal is not to look unbothered, it's to be unbothered. And that only happens when your attention is invested forward, not backward. Here's a practical exercise. Write a short list titled "What I Control." Keep it simple: your actions, your effort, your integrity, your time. Read it every morning for a week. Then write another list titled "What I Release." Put their name there if you need to. Then put expectations, apologies, explanations, and imagined outcomes underneath. This is not symbolic fluff. It's cognitive training. You are teaching your mind where to invest energy and where to withdraw it. As you live better, something subtle shifts. You stop needing them to feel small because you stop measuring yourself against them at all. Their absence becomes irrelevant not because they failed, but because you outgrew the space they once occupied. Seneca captured this perfectly. The whole future lies in uncertainty. Live immediately. When you live immediately, fully engaged with what's in front of you, there's no room for old injuries to dominate. Take action today, not dramatic action, consistent action. Clean one habit, strengthen one discipline, choose one value and honor it even when no one sees. This is how you win quietly. This is how you move on without announcing it. And this is how you make the past lose its power, not by fighting it, but by building a life so solid that it no longer matters who walked away. Before you leave, remember this. The Stoics never sought revenge, because revenge still gives power to the one who caused the wound. warned that the best answer to injury is not retaliation, but refusing to be shaped by it. And that is exactly what you've learned here. You don't make someone who hurt you feel small by arguing, explaining, or proving anything. You do it by becoming unshakable, by staying calm where they expected reaction, by walking forward when they hoped you'd stay stuck. Your composure is louder than any confrontation. Your silence is heavier than any insult. And your progress is the quiet verdict they can't escape. If this message resonated with you, don't let it end here. Rewatch this video. Practice what you've learned. Carry this discipline into every interaction. Because the moment you stop seeking validation, the moment you master your response, you become untouchable. If you found value in this Stoic wisdom like the video, share it with someone who needs strength right now, and subscribe for more lessons that sharpen your mind and steady your soul. Stay calm, stay disciplined, and remember, nothing diminishes another person more than your complete self-mastery.